Hello, this video is going to be all about self-care for the homeschool mom. I know if you are like me that you put yourself and your needs at the very bottom of your list as a mom, and then as a homeschooling mom, it's even worse because there's school to add to the never-ending list as well. So I want you to think of times that you could do things for yourself, whether that's when you put the kids in bed, maybe during nap time, or maybe you just find little pockets throughout the day. I think a big thing for me as a homeschooling mom was just giving myself grace that I'm not going to have 30 minutes every day to do something super awesome for myself. So there are some days where I do spend more time and maybe I polish my nails or I take a long bath, but then there's other days that I just find little pockets of time. Maybe I sneak into my room while my kids are playing quietly and read a page from my book, or maybe I just go in my room and close the door and take some deep breaths and pray. Maybe I find something that's only going to take a few minutes, but it's going to bring me peace, whether that's just taking some deep breaths or maybe looking at some pictures, going down memory lane, something that can kind of lift my spirits if I don't have a lot of time and I only have that small time. So it can be done. Obviously, it's better to have a larger pockets, but if you don't, you can always find little nuggets of time to bring yourself joy. I want to encourage you to make a list of the things that fill you up. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and as a homeschooling mom, it's really important that you keep yourself filled up so that you can pour into your kids. And I know for me, it's really important that I start my day with scripture and a prayer, even if it's a really quick one, just so I can kind of start my day on the right path and kind of like reshift my mentality. I am not a morning person, and most of my children are. So I have to really be mindful about that. I like to sleep in if possible. Sleeping in as a mom is like 7 o'clock. So if I'm able to sleep in, that means I don't have as much time in the morning to get myself, give myself that time. So that means a really quick prayer, read over a couple Bible verses, and start my day. Obviously, it is better to make more time, but you just have to do what works for you, right? You have to make sacrifices. You have to allow yourself time to rest when you need it. Things I am still learning. So make yourself a list, things that will just make you happy. For me, it's like polishing my nails, reading, sitting in quiet, taking a bath, doing some kind of like skincare routine. I know that's really more hygienic than self-care, but that does not happen every day. So I feel fancy when I can do it. To be the best homeschooling mom, you really have to make time for self-care. And I am preaching to myself here because I definitely need to prioritize this more. So I've already shared a few ideas. I just want to drop some more in here. Reading, whether that's for pleasure or for information. I love to read. Taking a bath, I already said. Polishing my nails, I already said. Maybe you want to chat with a friend. If you can't physically leave your house, you could always call or do a Zoom call or FaceTime. I know it's not the same, but it is better than nothing. If you are able to leave the home, it's always fun to meet somebody for coffee or tea. Maybe just take a walk, get out in the fresh air by yourself, meet a friend, meet a neighbor. It's super awesome if you can go out for a girls' night every once in a while just to be around other women and other homeschooling moms. There's just something about being with other women. I love my husband, but I feel like God has designed us to be relationally with lots of people, not just our spouse. So yes, the relationship with your spouse is super important. It's also important to have date nights with your husband, but I think it's also important to make that time to be with other women who can also fill you up and encourage you and laugh together and just do life together, right? So those are all great things to add in. It's also fun to learn something new. My daughter had a speech delay, so we started learning sign language, and I discovered that I really enjoy learning sign language. I like to sign some during worship at church, and it's just a different experience in worship to be able to worship God with even more of myself, not just my voice, but also my hands through motioning some signs that I know. I don't know a lot. but it's fun to learn something new. So maybe scheduling time in for that. There is a college around here who offers a course for free for sign language. So that's something I'm working on. It's not something I make time for as much as I would like to, but it's something that I am learning and something that's exciting and new. And I'm increasing the little wrinkles in my brain as I'm learning. Maybe you want to journal. Journaling is really good for getting your thoughts out on paper. It's also nice for looking back. I've started writing a list of like prayers, prayer requests, and prayer concerns, and then when God answers my prayers. And it's just nice to look back to that because I feel like we're so busy that we don't really take the time to appreciate the prayers that have already been answered. We're always looking ahead. So this just kind of forces me or gives me the opportunity to look back and remember. For me, meal planning is like self-care because I hate not knowing what I'm doing for dinner. So I actually meal plan like a month in advance, and I have all of these ideas. And that way, when we're doing a grocery order, I just look at what I'm doing and what we have and what we need. It simplifies things for me. So that may not be self-care for you, but it gives me peace of mind and way less stress. So I love to do that whenever I can. Another thing that I feel like is a lost art is like writing an actual letter, not an email or a text, but an actual letter that you put in the mail and pay your 50 whatever cents for postage to mail to the person. It's just so much more personal to get something like that in the mail, isn't it? When you get a letter in the mail, it's not common, so it's special. So that's something fun that you could do, writing a letter to someone, whether it's a friend or a family member. I think another thing that a lot of people struggle with is boundaries. I think it's important for us to teach and model for our children what having healthy boundaries looks like, and that involves saying no sometimes to things, keeping certain times in your calendar sacred. So for me, I automatically know my commitments. We have church on Saturday night, we have a date night every week, and then I have school. Those are my non-negotiables. One of my daughters has therapy appointments. Those are also non-negotiables. And then I have set office time that I do videos like this, and I work on graphics, and I also do some online tutoring. So I have lots of things that I put in my calendar, and I know that that time is committed to those things. So when someone approaches me with an opportunity or something else, I always look at those things and make sure that it's not going to conflict with that or take away with that before I answer. And a good rule of thumb is to not answer right away. Just say, let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. Or let me see if I have the capacity for this right now and I'll get back to you. Those are great ways to respond to someone who is expecting an answer. It's always good to give yourself some time to think and process through things instead of saying yes to everything. Saying no, it can be challenging and it can cause some hurt feelings, but you've got to remember that you are taking care of yourself and your family first, and that you are not responsible for other people's feelings, which is a hard pill to swallow sometimes. So I just want to encourage you to take a step back from all of the homeschooling craziness sometimes with the plans and the activities and having the kids home all the time, to make some time for you and just really assess kind of where you are on your self-care regimen. Do you have one? Do you have a list? Do you even know what fills you up? When I started a few years ago, like writing things down, I was like, what do I even do? It's been so long since I've had time for myself. I don't even know what I would do. There's lots of ideas online. If you are watching this video and you have one that I didn't say, I'd love for you to drop it in the comments and we can learn from each other. So I'd encourage you to carve out some time today or this week where you can really sit down and think about what fills you up and what makes you happy and how you can be a better mom and a better homeschooling mom. Because once you take care of you and you are doing your best, everything else kind of falls into place. I hope that gave you some things to think about and maybe some things to try.